Okay, so let's just jump right in. It really feels like overnight, AI went from being this kind of sci fi thing to something that's just everywhere. And wow, the conversation is really heating up in our schools, isn't it? So today, we're going to talk about why AI in the classroom is a huge, fundamental shift and not just some passing fad. All right, so let's just get right to the big one, the elephant in the room. I mean, the second tools like ChatGPT dropped, you could practically hear the debate raging in every single staff room. The main question, is this just, well, cheating by another name? That's what one teacher called it. And honestly, it's the first thing that pops into almost every parent's and teacher's head. And look, it's a totally fair question. Of course it is. But if we only focus on the cheating aspect, we are missing this massive, massive transformation that's already underway. It's kind of like when calculators first came out and the big panic was, oh no, kids won't learn long division. We really need to zoom out here and look at the much, much bigger picture. So, okay, let's start with what AI can actually do for the students themselves. What's the biggest promise here? Well, it's the potential to give every single kid their own personal tutor. I mean, think about it. That's something that until now was only really possible if you could afford one-on-one human tutor. And the way it does this is pretty incredible, actually. First off, AI can create totally custom learning paths for each student. So it's adjusting the difficulty as they go. So a student is always challenged, but never totally overwhelmed. It gives instant, detailed feedback on their work, which is huge because they can see where they went wrong right away. It can even spot those little skill gaps and help close them. And it's great for making those tricky, abstract concepts feel more concrete. It can even be like a creative partner for projects. And on top of all that, it makes learning way more accessible for all kinds of learners. So the core technology that's driving all this, it's often called an adaptive learning platform. Just think of it like a super smart digital system. It doesn't just throw information at you. It actually pays attention to how you're doing and responds in real time. So say you're struggling with fractions, well, it'll give you more help right there. But if you've totally got it, boom, it moves you on to the next thing. It's all about education adapting to the student instead of forcing the student to adapt to a one-size-fits-all lesson. Okay, but here's the thing. This isn't just a game changer for students. AI is also becoming this incredible assistant for teachers. It helps them tackle all that paperwork and administrative stuff that can really get in the way of, well, actually teaching. And this comparison really shows you the difference it makes. I mean, think about a teacher's day before AI. Their evenings could just be eaten up by grading giant stacks of papers. But with AI, they can get instant analysis of how the class is doing. Instead of building every single lesson plan from scratch, they can generate outlines and find materials in just minutes. All this automation frees up what is absolutely a teacher's most precious resource, their time. And that means more time for the important stuff, right? More time for mentoring, for connecting, for actually inspiring their students. And this is a really, really crucial point. The goal here isn't to replace teachers with robots, not at all. As the California Department of Education puts it so well, AI is here to enhance a teacher's role, not get rid of it. You still absolutely need a teacher's professional judgment to guide the tech, to make sense of what it's spitting out, and, most importantly, to build those human connections that are, at the end of the day, what learning is all about. So, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little futuristic, right? Like something that's maybe 5 or 10 years away. Well, the data tells a totally different story. This isn't some prediction. This is a snapshot of what is happening in schools right now. Just look at this number, 70%. That's how many high school students are using generative AI tools today. And that's up from 58% just a year ago. That's a huge jump. The main takeaway here is pretty clear. Students are already using this stuff, whether schools have official rules for it or not. And hey, it's not just the students. Teachers are right there with them. Their use of AI has also skyrocketed, with nearly 60% of them now using it for things like planning lessons or giving feedback. So we're way past the point of this being just a few tech-savvy teachers experimenting. This is becoming mainstream. So what this all tells us is pretty simple, really. AI has gone from being this kind of interesting experiment to an absolutely essential tool for both students and teachers. The whole question of if it belongs in our schools, that ship has pretty much sailed. But, okay, let's pump the brakes for a second. With this technology moving so fast, there are some very real challenges and ethical questions that we just can't ignore. This isn't some magic bullet, and rolling it out in schools has to be done carefully. We have to be really balanced about this. For every one of those amazing benefits we just talked about, there is a serious hurdle we need to figure out. Like, how do we protect student data and privacy? That's a huge one. And are these algorithms even fair? Could they be biased? And then there's the money. This stuff can be expensive to implement. So how do we make sure it doesn't just make the gap between rich and poor schools even wider? These are the really tough questions that need answered. So to deal with all this, schools and districts really need a solid plan. First, they need to create clear, common sense policies. Then, they've got to provide real, hands-on training for teachers. That's non-negotiable. Student data privacy has to be priority number one, and they have to find ways to make sure every single student gets access to these tools, not just kids in certain schools. And finally, we just have to teach AI literacy to everyone so we all understand what these tools are and how they work. So, after all that, where do we stand? Well, it lives us in a totally new reality. This is the new normal for education, and it's up to us to shape what it looks like, carefully and with real intention. And this is really the bottom line. The debate about whether AI should be in education, that's over. It's here. The real work, the important work that starts now, is figuring out how. How do we integrate it into our schools in a way that's smart, that's fair, and that actually helps every single student succeed? And really, that leads us to the biggest question of all, one we should all be thinking about. As we bring these unbelievably powerful tools into our kids' lives, how do we make sure they're used to boost our humanity? To enhance our creativity, our critical thinking, our connection with each other, instead of replacing it? That is the big challenge, but it's also the incredible opportunity that's right in front of us.